Hello everyone and welcome to your horoscope for the week of February the 20th, 2023. This is going to be quite an interesting week because we do have some really powerful celestial conversations that have been with us ever since the beginning of the year, but they are intensifying. At the same time, we do have a new moon to begin the week with in the sign of Pisces, which will definitely call upon our more dreamy and creational energies one way or another. But we must not forget that all of this happens, just before a really powerful energy, a series of energy shifts where Saturn and Pluto are starting to change signs, and this impacts us much more than any ongoing celestial conversation. We feel the shift so very powerfully right now in so many ways that it's basically undeniable. We are being prepared for something quite massive that is almost here. Something that is, let's not forget, just a preview, because it will become that much more intense, permanent, real in 2024. Yet still Saturn changing signs, moving into the sign of Pisces, well, that immediately brings a touch of reality with it. But, as I said, back to this week, we're still in the shadow, basically, of this upcoming big shift of everything that is, without a doubt, just around the corner. Of course, this week we also have a minor energy shift where Venus also changed signs, moving into the sign of Aries, where she is, known as the slutty Venus for, solid reasons. But at the same time, the new moon in the sign of Pisces also means that the sun very recently changed signs, left the sign of Aquarius and entered into the sign of Pisces, and as soon as it entered, it's already conversing with the moon and the new moon phenomenon. Now, at the beginning of the week, this new moon does invite us to focus a lot on our more deeper soul level goals, desires, dreams, but those of deep creational nature, not necessarily, daydreams and fantasies which take us into other realms, neither the joys of any kind of escapism, but this is serious. This has a strong purpose to it. This also has a need to it, because one of the bigger aspects that this new moon holds is an outer sign conjunction with Saturn. Saturn in the sign of Aquarius brings the element of the future, of necessity, of let's really do this one way or another. And the specifics, what Pisces brings to the table, if, the plan, whatever we need to do, that Saturn yet doesn't make too much sense, or we don't have it figured out yet, Pisces can invite us to dream it up and use the power basically of, let's say, attraction. But it's not necessarily the ridiculous way it is presented on the internet, like the law of attraction and the secret. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the more elevated, more divine expression of it, where when the divine sees and knows and acknowledges that you are struggling, but Saturn, you tried your best and you were really serious about it. You know why you need that dream, new moon in Pisces, to become real, or a Saturn, a solution to a problem to miraculously appear. It can be some kind of need ultimate. It can be something for your future, a job, a project, a synchronicity, a person, a friend, a specialist. You to launch something, you to initiate something, you to any kind of harvest, basically, but as a recognition of your work, of your effort, to lead you somewhere. Because Pisces that would play out as, spiritual reward, as in the good that you have done will reflect back upon your life, and you know this. But Saturn makes sure that it's not this. Chances are it's either not this, or that this reflects immediately. As in, you will not get, for example, the favor, the pay, the help, the whatever from who you helped in return, but from a totally different source, different person, but kind of instantly, because, Saturn makes sure that it is practical. And when I say instantly, only when your situation needs it instantly. If you have time, well, then Saturn is the planet of time, actually. So all at the right timing. So this outer sign conjunction with Saturn does tell me that there is a strong fated element here, especially that which has to do with the results of your labor. And when I say labor, of course, real labor can be included, but Aquarius, the social, favors, kind gestures, you embodied your faith, you held an example, dignity on whatever you have done. In any way, it reflects back on you. If you were the simplest expression, if you were truly kind and, with the spine intact, as in a straight person, and I'm not meaning sexuality in that sense, but, truly holding your ground in a situation where honor demanded such, Saturn, well, that of course makes you someone more than worthy to be helped and supported by the human element, Saturn in Aquarius, humanitarianism, or by the divine element, the new moon in Pisces. So this can be quite a good news, but with Pisces, I need to repeat this creational energy, the darkness of total darkness. The moon does not shine under a new moon. It is the dark void moon. So basically, what you plant into it is what you get. And Pisces, if you plant doom and gloom, and if you self-prophesy something negative, well, of course, that will have dire consequences. Would you do the opposite, but in a realistic way, Saturn? And just as I said, I am a person who has a lot of good deeds and good intent, so there is no reason why I'm not going to be helped in my moment of need. Simple as that. And for anyone who works much more with the Piscean energies, like artists, like spiritualists, alchemists, anyone who needs a bit of creativity, inspiration, or strong healing right now, can use this energy, so very, very well. And yes, healing can also be part of this picture, because with the Saturnian new moon, it can play out as a strong decision and commitment you make to yourself to stop smoking, to stop something. Smoking was, the main symbolism. You can associate to quit a toxic relationship, a toxic friendship, anything that might have to do with toxicity or something that hinders you, something that you need to dissolve. And Saturn limitations, Saturn boundaries, Saturn traversing through. It came to this 28 degrees of Aquarius all through these past 2 years, and a lot has happened, a lot has been revealed. It really, really grounded our mental sphere, our own unique ways, but it did ground us into our own reality and into our own even objectivity. And when I say objectivity, it's not absolute, not to be taken, but as objective as it can subjectively be for a human being. And in matters of social life, career, work, finances, relation with the states, relation with other members of society, we do need a great deal of objectivity to, know our place, know our possibilities, know where we're heading towards, etc., etc. So this kind of objectivity. So in the past 2.5 years, Saturn did teach us quite, you know, rigidly, if that can even be used as a symbol, what our objectivity truly is. And Uranus squaring Saturn, a lot of times as it transited Aquarius, that Uranus brought the challenges, brought the awareness. That Uranus actually destroyed the unstable part of Saturn. For example, everything in our mental sphere, but when I say mental sphere, not the Gemini type, not the lower mind, the higher mind, that where we kind of store, that where we download or keep the big picture, the big plans, who it is that we are outside of the illusion of a relationship, of a family, who it is that we truly, are in the human world. So outside our families and belonging, just us and, the world. Where do we stand? That is basically what kind of Saturn revealed to us, aggressed heavily by Uranus, of course, but it did the job. We kind of know where we stand. And this is so very important on this new moon, in this outer sun conjunction, because Saturn does bring this great element of realism, inviting us to make sure that the dream, the desire, the wish, whatever it is that we create with this Piscean energy, fits the mold. Because Pisces does not have mold. Pisces is unbound. It is ether, really. Or water, but water needs to have, a shape, a container. Saturn does a massive favor and brings the container, brings the shape, brings the mold. It prevents Pisces from flowing all over the place. So when it's in the shape, in the mold, in the container, in the dish, water can be boiled, frozen, mixed. It's stored. So that means that the results of our action, efforts, etc. are there to stay. So we contain something. The energy that we conjure up at this Piscean new moon is here in our lives to stay. It's not gonna evaporate. It's not gonna vanish like the daydream that Pisces brings. Or we wake up from the high and then we kind of ask ourselves, was this real? Was this truly the expression of the spirit? Or, well, this Saturn makes sure that we don't have those confusions. Now, Venus entering into the sign of Aries at the same time is also very beneficial, because she also brings an element of great realism. As in, if you mean it, if you mean what you feel, if you mean what you say, if you mean your, direction, your initiatives, your intent, well then let's see you execute it. This is the Aries kind of Venus, where feeling, speaking about it, the emotion being there is almost like zero. For example, for Pisces, that's all. That's all. For Pisces, that's all. For Aries, well, the action, the gesture, the result, or at least what was already initiated, that is what is necessary. And ultimately, for Aries, sometimes the sheer initiation, regardless of where the result takes us, is enough. That is, for example, love expressed. Let me just give you an example. There is an Aries person and another person needs to take the Aries out on a date. Well, to an Aries person, it will not matter if it's raining, meteor shower, whatever happens outside, because the date needs to go ahead one way or another. Now, if you wanted to go out in the park, now of course, that is where the end result won't matter as much, because chances are either you will go to rest or you will adapt to the situation. But for the Aries native, the date was absolutely okay. Now, would you just phone the Aries native and cancel the date, or put too much pressure on the Aries native how they want to solve the situation? Well, that will not go well. This is what I mean. That we don't talk about it. You come to the date and then we talk. So this is what Venus in the sign of Aries kind of expresses individually and also collectively. So knowing where this Aries Venus and the transiting Venus in Aries signs falls into your personal chart is very important, but because that you will know the area of life where you will want to make things real, not just feel it or promise. That's also very Venusian. Someone promised you something. Well, they need to truly show it, do it, execute it, because otherwise, nuh-uh. Now, this is a rather benevolent energy, because Jupiter, the greater benefic, Venus being the lower one, is also in the sign of Aries, which means that Venus will meet Jupiter next week. And this is a really, really good energy, because when Jupiter and Venus meet, usually once every year, it does represent a moment of good fortune, a lucky initiation, an action which goes really, really far, something inspired, a moment of courage, or with Venus in the picture, a moment when you're brave enough to allow, to receive, to, be the passive element of whatever the initiation is. So this is preparing something quite positive, quite beneficial. Now on the world stage, of course, Venus is financial energy, Venus is currency, Venus is financial tendencies, and conjunct Jupiter. And the thing is, they are Libra, because the opposite sign is Libra, justice, equilibrium, fairness. So there will be great, great debate legally, especially in courts of justice, about money and the repartition of money, especially not necessarily the past is dissected, but the present and future, the very close future. How are we going to manage the rest of the year? Things like that. And the projects and whatever numbers and facts and figures are presented are going to be challenged quite violently. Why am I saying this? Well, there is another energy, a trine in the sky, where Mars, Venus herself trines Black Moon Lilith. And Black Moon Lilith in the sign of Leo, and Venus in the sign of Aries. So this fiery alchemy does mean action, does mean Venus in Aries, the head. I want it, I need it, I'm going for it. And Black Moon Lilith in the sign of Leo, in the heart, my sovereignty, my rights, I am fighting for my justice, for my needs, etc., etc. So this can spark up spirits out there on the world stage, but quite personally, it can be a really, really positive energy, an energy of bravery, of initiation. And Venus joins Lilith this week. So it is going to be one of courage, of big moves, big gestures, romantic declarations, why not? Romantic gestures where, when you want to convince someone to be with you, this week might be the most empowered in all the right ways, because Lilith brings the physical side, physical attraction and chemistry and hormones to it, but in the sign of Leo, also the desire of the heart. Venus in the sign of Aries, the gesture, the initiation, the bravery of it, the modus operandi of the love declaration or whatever, can really go a long way. It can conquer, basically. If you want to conquer someone's heart, well, this week might be quite a good week to initiate certain gestures. And even though it doesn't guarantee you solid results in the now immediately, just wait for it. You can still impress that person, the employer, the interview, and you can impress this week. That's all I'm saying. And as I said, I would imagine that this is more romantic sexual energy, but it doesn't have to be. This can be project, work, an artist, a performer, a singer, a dancer, anyone who performs is going to be blessed by this Venus trine Black Moon Lilith. You can steal the hearts. Why not? Poetry. Anything goes here, because as long as there is an action and as long as there is initiation and a sense of direction, Aries, there is going to be positive results, I do imagine. Now, Mars and Mercury are also holding a conversation of supreme harmony, a trine. So this is really, really good news, because your mental sphere, Gemini, the lower mind, Aquarius, the higher mind, take you there. They really, really take you there. You're supported, communication, or anything that has to do with words, with phone calls, social media, contracts, etc. is going forward. It is moving into the right direction. Friends can help you, because Mars in the sign of Gemini, the other, Mercury in the sign of Aquarius, the community and also the individual, and a trine, attraction, asking for help, you get help, someone else asking for help, you offer help, you lend help, and this just gets, into a circle of benevolence, and that is really, really positive. Things, initiations on social media, launching things, writing, creativity, marketing, management, business, negotiation, trade, commerce, figuring out your business, pushing, giving your business a boost, a push, recruiting new specialists, consulting with specialists. All of this in this week at least is blessed. It is guided by a really, really benevolent energy. Of course, there is challenges in the sky as well. We can't have it without, because Mercury does speak in a conversation of tension, a square, with its higher octave Uranus. Okay, Mercury trine Mars, the empowerment, things getting done, but Uranus also brings sacrifices sometimes. For example, unexpected costs. Uranus is in the sign of Taurus, so, and Venus trining Lilith in Leo, because Venus is the ruler of Taurus, it's worth it. As in, you will spend, you will invest, you will give the money, you want it. Like, you really, really want it, regardless of what it is. If a project demands money, if a person, if a situation, money or time or energy or resources or effort, chances are you might be willing to invest it. But with Mercury and Mars, know the limit. Sorry, Mercury and Uranus, know the limit. And watch your bank or watch the numbers. Because if you get into the spur of the moment and you don't watch it, the minus is going to be quite big. So do manage it, manage it. Of course, this can also represent things that you cannot manage. Equipment, electronics, breaking down, communication breaking down, misunderstandings, misinterpretation. But this is where it's very short. It's resolved in the moment. It's not like weeks or days but those can represent blockages, or those can represent turnaround of events when whatever misunderstanding or whatever complication, blockage, equipment not working, it got you out from your routine, from your concentration, and it kind of changes stuff around. But this is also where solicitations and disruption, a lot of disruption, can come from your circle of friends, from other people, from the internet, from from the collective, basically. Natural calamities just here where I am, I live in Romania and we are neighbors with Turkey, so yeah. A natural calamity can very quickly disrupt everything, and yeah. But it can be, any other kind of even annoyance, basically. Because everyone has the annoying friends. And this week it can really, really come into focus and just disrupt our lives, but maybe more importantly, cause a lot of expenses and financial losses, but these should be, like on a small scale, just to make us think that a lot of small losses do bring out a big minus, if you know what I mean. But of course, there are other energies in the sky. One that I find very interesting, shortly after the new moon, the sun will conjunct fixed star Fomalhaut, and this happens every year, so nothing special. But there's Saturn. Saturn hold the outer sign conjunction with the sun before Fomalhaut's conjunction, which means that it prepares us, it kind of gives us a hint or a dream or a feeling of what Saturn's transit in the sign of Pisces is going to feel like for us. So this is why it's important. And what is the ancient wisdom within it, Fomalhaut, after all? Or how do we alchemize our situations? On the 22nd, I do believe it's quite a magical day because we do have moon conjunct Venus, and then the moon will conjunct Jupiter and Chiron in the sign of Aries, and of course the other planetoids there as well, like Juno, Aries, and Salasha. So this will be quite an intense moment when maybe we're already seeing the effects of that new moon playing out in our lives, or we might need to decide something in the heat of the moment, because moon is our intensity, the emotional intensity, or we might get some surprises from, our circle of friends, or a love declaration, or maybe we are put in a situation where we make a moment of, as in make a gesture of courage, of boldness, of perhaps get out of our comfort zone and prove ourselves one way or another. Now, of course, all of this energy plays out under an anaretic Pluto. So whatever happens our individual lives, it's absolutely fine, because individually this anaretic Pluto gives us power. It forces us to hold power and not be able to stay totally in a powerless state. So it kind of really slaps our wrists whenever we disempower ourselves. So this anaretic Pluto can feel very, very heavy for the victim type of people who kind of are okay being vulnerable and not having power. This Pluto demands from everyone that they cling on, grip whatever their power is. Collectively, it's demolishing Capricorn, it's demolishing a part of our 3D reality, and quite literally, just in the neighboring country, literally. Like, it demolishes stuff. And, in my country, there was the similar event in 77. It demolished our capital. So, yeah. When Pluto means business, it really, really, really means business. And I do believe that we kind of have to get used to this, because yes, in March, Pluto will enter Aquarius and reactivate the Great Conjunction. So that is a mind blast, collectively and individually for all of us. But then it will return to finish its job in Capricorn. So maybe the Earth, or the social political Earth, will shake once more, deeper than it has ever done. So Pluto means business. But this also means we do need to take in our share of the collective lesson, but detach from that which is not our share. Pluto forcing us to take back our power over our perceptions. what we allow ourselves to perceive, what we do not allow ourselves to perceive. Jupiter in the sign of Aries tells us we're sovereign even over our perceptions. If we don't want to make something our business, we have the sovereignty to even command reality not to influence us, not to affect us. Now, I would like to continue with a small horoscope, a more classic horoscope, with how this week, especially this new moon, may influence the signs, the 12 signs. So let us begin with the sign of Aries, where for natives born under this sign, this is going to be quite an intense week where a big promise is born, a promise that they make to themselves. Now, this can be either detox, to quit something. If it's quitting a job, well, that job is a torture by now. So chances are natives born under the sign of Aries are going to be eliminating something limitative, something restrictive, something that tries to be their boss and energy from their lives. So this can be, as I said, a substance, a person, a bad routine, a bad custom. But this can also mean taking personal healing much more seriously. Even if you don't necessarily have a problem, fortifying your physical body, Saturn, and immune system, fortifying immune system, making sure that your blood is higher quality, if I can, express myself in this manner. And this can also mean a lot of inner work, a lot of, sitting down with yourself and determining how things should be for you personally from that moment onwards. So committing to something, but very, very personally. Chances are family, relatives, or people from the distant past might also reconnect to you in order to either ask something of you or to share something with you. Now, moving on, natives born under the sign of Taurus might be pushing very strongly this week in order to accomplish something, maybe a project, maybe a smaller dream of theirs, a desire of theirs that is already initiated, is being worked on. So they might be expecting the finishing moves, the finishing touches, or the rewards this week. A lot of communication, and maybe sometimes disruption can come from their circle of friends, from their social circle families. But the other way around, sometimes unexpected help and pleasant surprises might also come from there. So for natives born under the sign of Taurus, this week is going to be quite an intense one where they have to manage the realization of something quite personal, but also work and also self-care. A lot of self-care. And this makes it quite difficult for them because natives born under the sign of Taurus can multitask with anything except self-care. Self-care to them needs like either a whole day or the wholeness of their being to be dedicated to it. Now moving on to the sign of Gemini, this can be quite an interesting week because new projects might be coming or invitations to projects that are already ongoing where they might have been, either rejected or put on the waiting list or on the second, as a second opinion, a second specialist in projects that they were called upon last week or in the first half of January this year. And maybe it is those projects that, surprise, surprise, there is a place for natives under the sign of Gemini, or they are re-invited. They are called once again to join something that might have been deemed lost or failed or not successful just a few weeks ago. Also at the same time, this might be a week when a lot of work, a lot of effort, when their true mastery, their true skill, their true professional power might be invested into work, into a project, or into career. Natives who are writing something, a presentation, publishing something, or have exams are really, really advantaged to really put all your effort and energy into it, because the result will speak not just for themselves, but after, don't worry, a period of rest and recuperation will come. And also for natives born, because I'm looking at my notes obviously, for natives born under the sign of Gemini, there might be the possibility of new professional connections. So stay open, because this can be quite a busy week, but in the best and, most fruitful sense possible, especially for the future. Moving on to Cancer. Now, just like Gemini, natives born under the sign of Cancer also need to focus more on their careers. But for Cancer, it comes more like a necessity. It comes more like an inner drive, where they either have been stagnating or they have been tolerating a situation for way too many weeks or months, and now they feel the need to make a bigger move. And the first thing that they can do is to invest all of their attention, all of their focus, and all of the help available to them in their lives, friends, family, etc., into solving whatever they need to do in their career. For some, it's stepping up, but that step up might require effort, course, or learning, or something, and that's difficult. That's why they need help and determination. For others, a career change. Even if the contract comes, the physical element of moving the job, starting anew, making new colleagues, getting into the routine, that is hard. That is where they need help. But at the same time, for some natives, there might come invitations to travel, maybe even in foreign companies. So there might be travels involved, surprise travels. For others, maybe you need to solve something in a court of justice, legal case, but it's, as in, it promises solution and resolution. So it's not something, not necessarily like a legal fight. It's more like something that you need to go through, like a procedure. Moving on to the sign of Leo. Well, Leo natives might feel a little bit under the weather this week. There might be need for recovery because you have exhausted yourself or had to immerse into something and it really, really drained your batteries. Or there might be flare-ups if you have existing conditions. So there will be a necessity to take care of your physical body, either by going to a doctor, specialist, or self-care, self-nurture, or simply rest and take time out. But the thing is, it's not as easy as I make it sound, because there is also an emphasis placed on the financial element, on money, on resources, on what is available and what is not. And maybe friends and family or people who very dear to you might need your help, contribution, or your time. So making your recovery, making your rest, or if you need to take care of a medical problem, that not as easy, not as straightforward. So you guys will really need to manage your inner strength as wisely as possible, where you cannot ignore your own needs, but maybe life will come to you with not having any choice but to get out of your recuperation mode and, be there for friends, family, or do whatever life asks you to do, and then, of course, go back into recovery. But all of this for Leo natives is not a walk in the park. It is very irritable when their own recuperation, recovery is interrupted by a person, by life, or by anything. Moving on to natives born under the sign of Virgo. Now, this is where if you are in a partnership, chances are you're sitting down with your partner and deciding on something. Something more practical, more concrete, like home, a financial future, jobs, time, children. You need to rearrange your life very soon, the routines of it maybe, and you can do it solo. So if you have a partner, it's definitely like a family consultation, a consultation with your partner, or a decision that you need to make with your partner. Or for natives who are not really committed, but they're together, the moment of commitment. Like, well, we've been together, so let's commit. Why not? But this goes hand in hand with a deep, deep emotional contemplation where Virgo natives do process what, who, or, anything, even an energy. Is it worth it? How is it worth it? Is it true love? Or is it just my being a good person and not giving to a situation, a person, a job, a colleague, a boss, what they give to me. So returning that which is given to me. So Virgo natives are going to have quite a complicated week emotionally, where, as I said, even if you sit down with your partner and have to make a choice, you really need to heartstorm and see what is worth it and what is not worth it. Where is the balance? Where is the compromise? And as I said, even if you're single, that partner can be a job, can be a situation, can be a living, condition, a home, a contract. So there is, heartstorming in place for almost everyone who is born under the sign of Virgo, regardless of what kind of partnerships they have in their lives, romantic or not. Now, moving on to Libra, this is where, for the sign of natives born under the sign of Libra, it might be a moment when they do dare to immerse into romance. Maybe the time for new love, to make a new friend, to make a new romantic connection, better said, is time. The time is here. But this might need a moment of initiation, a moment of courage, a moment when you might go against your usual norm. Because natives born under the sign of Libra more or less have been, I'm not saying in hermit mode, but in self-protective mode. As in not giving green lights to new people to enter their lives, new situations at the job, at, everything in their lives which could bring them something new but disruptive, something dangerous like a new love, a new hobby, a new whatever, was kind of blocked out. It is this week, maybe under the influence of that new moon, when they dare to venture out, when they dare to put, their noses out of the blanket into the heat of the day. So surprises might come into their lives, like a new crush, a new love, a new romance. This can also represent certain things that they need to take care of for themselves in order to be able to get into that new. For example, health problems, if they owe money or they owe something to someone, they need to be on the floating line in order to initiate something new. So it's gonna be quite an interesting week for Libra natives, because they need to weigh things, and that is what's their speciality, but also the most difficult things for them on earth. Moving on to the sign of Scorpio, this is where it's equally intense for Scorpio natives as well, because it's all about commitments for them as well. But commitments may be at job, at work, at their family, commitments to themselves, but these commitments are more financial in nature. Maybe they're more concrete in nature, not necessarily what I'm gonna love, what my feelings are gonna be, but how am I going to manage right now. If I love something, then I commit to it, for example. If I have a talent, if I have a business, I commit onto taking it onto the new level or making it part of my future. And this might represent contracts being signed, paperwork with authorities. If you have a business, everything that is included in there as in commitments. And it might be the case that Scorpio natives, those who are parents, will need to be there for their children, help their children, sacrifice for their children, take on hardships for their children, to protect their children for hardships. So if you're a Scorpio parent, it's gonna be quite an intense week, much more children-wise, or child-wise, than for you personally. Moving on to Sagittarius, there might be changes coming into your homes. There might be a need to upgrade something in your home, an item or the home itself. There might be some changes coming, even in the larger sense, where you might be invited to move home, to relocate, or especially if your home is, not fully yours, like a rent or mortgage or council or etc. etc. Now expect changes in the terms of conditions of the contract, or you might need to move, even if it's into a better place. But this is when the necessity to make this step comes into your sphere of awareness, maybe this week. Now, moving on to the signs of Capricorn, there might be a lot of contemplation, a lot of brainstorming, how to rearrange your financial situation in order to make the values that you have in your life produce much, much more for you. Capricorn natives who do have businesses, who do have, maybe self-employed, maybe a free professional, this is where you're really, really gonna start thinking how to monetize maybe something that is valuable in your life and will be a much welcome addition to your financial situation, a new source of income, or to maximize the existing income. Now, this can also represent you chasing a dream, where you find the resources to make something that you really, really want to make part of your, something that is not necessarily a big deal or a big dream, yet still something that you want to maybe try out, you're curious about. So it's a really good week to get to where you need to get in that sense. Moving on to Aquarius. Now, if I said monetization to Capricorn natives, now Aquarius truly means monetization, because they are starting to think about making a big investment, a big move, maybe building something, buying something big. Some of them might even rearrange their testament, their inheritance, etc., etc. Not necessarily because something is upcoming, something bad, but they need to have a part of their future stability figured out on paper, cast in iron basically. So they need that security, that a part of their future is secure, and whatever is like a free resource in their lives, that is what they want to play with. That is what they want to, speculate into something much more fruitful. So it's going to be quite a thoughtful and, calculating week for natives born under the sign of Aquarius. Now, last but not least, for Pisces, well, it is your sign that is the host of the new moon. So for you guys, it's deeply transformational. It's all about the self. It's all about who you want to become. It is all about who it is that you want to show. It is so personal that basically, you are the instrument of karma right now in your life. For example, your friends, your relationships, your partnerships, exes, if any. This is when you show who you truly are. And you reflecting who you truly are unto people, this is what causes regret to them. They regret that they lost you, that they hurt you, that they were unfair to you. And when I say partnership, any kind of partnership, but Pisces, the opposite. All the people, all the partners, all the souls who were kind to you. This is only now when you show just how kind you can be as well. So it is a deeply, deeply personal period, week for natives born under the sign of Pisces, when you show something to others or to the world about yourself. So thank you everyone for listening. This concludes our horoscope. I do hope that you enjoyed it and you found it useful. Thank you for all the love, all the support, all the generosity. And until next time, bye for now.